Hey guys, it's Sydney, and today we'll be talking about Call Me By Your Name. Call Me By Your Name is a movie that a lot of people love, but like there are people that hated Call Me By Your Name, and I see it on Letterboxd, I see it on TikTok, I see it on Twitter, I see it a lot of people being like, oh, that movie is so boring, it's just nothingness. I would like to say that Call Me By Your Name is objectively boring, but at the same time, the boringness has purpose. There is a purpose to the boringness. And now if you watch one of my videos from a couple weeks ago, I can't remember which one it was, I mentioned this blog post that I made, and this video was inspired by that blog post. If you have the time, go ahead and read it. It's like 3 paragraphs. It's not long. If you haven't watched Call Me By Your Name and you want to watch it, go ahead and watch it because it's going to spoil the entire movie. Me, I'm a person that doesn't really care for spoilers. But I like to go into movies blind. This movie is not a movie that you should go into blind for real. You just gotta watch, like, you know what to expect from this movie. But yes, Call Me By Your Name is a 2017 film directed by Luca Guadagnino that takes place in the summer of 1983. It was adapted from a 2007 novel by Andre Aciman, and the film is known for its heartbreaking ending. But before we reach the end, the journey must be discussed. The film stars Timothy Chalamet as Elio Perlman and Armie Hammer as Oliver. He doesn't have a last name. Every summer, the Perlmans invite a student to stay with them. This summer is no different, except Elio, the 17-year-old son of the Perlmans, falls in love with the 24-year-old grad student, Oliver. The movie follows their budding romance over the 6 weeks Oliver is staying with the Perlmans in Italy. The movie is strung together by a series of incidents over the summer. It begins with Oliver arriving, and Elio is staring down. Elio is like ogling the man. He like fresh meat. The first real development in Elio and Oliver's relationship is when Elio's friends are playing volleyball and Oliver rubs on Elio's back, like straight up rubs, like telling him to loosen up a little bit. Then he gets Maritza, who is a French girl who has a crush on Elio, to join in and rub his back after Elio is like clams up under his touch because he has a crush on him. Oliver takes this as I'm making him uncomfortable, let me back off. But then Oliver invites Elio to go swimming, and he tries to get a peek of Elio's thoughts, but he fails because Elio still has his guard up with Oliver because he has a crush on him. You don't want him to like know exactly what he's thinking. Like, you're not gonna clock my tea. Over the summer, the two are starting to build a rapport, and an example of this is when Oliver reads an excerpt of his work to Elio and asks, "Does that make any sense to you? Does it make any sense to me?" Elio replied, "Maybe it did when you wrote it." And Oliver says, "That might be the kindest thing anybody said to me in months." The dialogue in this movie is like kind of corny. If you really think of it, if you think about it too much, it's corny. But imagine the person you like saying that to you. Oh, okay, he thinks I'm kind. Oh, clock that tea. At that moment, respect and appreciation for each other's opinion is formed, and this comes back later in the movie. Later that night, though, there's a party that Elio and Oliver both attend. Elio is watching Oliver like dance up on his girl. He's just like, he's getting lit. He's like, and Elio mad. He looking like eyes twitching, he mad. Elio goes up there with Maritza. I feel like they always mumble her name when they say it in the movie, so I'm sorry. And then we get the iconic clip used in the Timothy Chalamet edit that changed the way edits were made for the rest of time, that invented the velocity edit. I guess I'm just a play date to you. And that night, Elio and Maritza, I'm sorry, guys, this is really bothering me. Maritza skinny dip, and the boy's like, "Oh, I almost tapped that." Okay, the next morning, just sick. Oliver, Elio, and Mr. Perlman then go on a trip to Sirmione to examine an artifact. However, before his father can join the two in the car, Elio spots the woman that Oliver was dancing with the night before, and he's all like, "Yeah, you should get with her. You should get with her. This, that. You should like her." And then Oliver's like, "You're weird." Like, he's like, "Why are you trying to force me to like those women?" Another significant moment is when Mrs. Perlman reads Heptameron. I looked at the pronunciation. That's the best y'all gonna get. The book asks, is it better to speak or to die? The question plagues Elio's mind after, and he says, I'll never have the courage to ask a question like that. The next day, Elio confesses to Oliver. Elio and Oliver were hanging out the next day, and Elio brings up the book that his mother read. Oliver, they were talking about it, and he was like, what does the knight do? Because it was the knight that asked the question, and the knight stays silent. Then he's like, okay, let's go out to town. Is it better to speak or to die? It's playing in Elio's head over and over and over again. So they finally get to this World War I statue, and they're talking about it. And Oliver asks, is there anything that you don't know? Then Elio's like, there's a lot of things I don't know, Oliver. What are you talking about? I don't know any of the important things. He says it just like that, by the way. Oliver is picking up what he's putting down.
Shouldn't have said anything.
Just pretend you never did.
Or does that mean we're on speaking terms, but not really?
It means we can't talk about those kinds of things.
But then they go to this secluded lake. And they go to this field and they kiss. But then Oliver stops and says, we should go. We haven't done anything to be ashamed of, and that's a good thing. Both Oliver and Elio are Jewish. Their families are Jewish. And this is a thing that comes back because Oliver proudly wears a Star of David necklace. Elio's families are Jews of discretion. Those are his exact words. I would like to add the fact that I am not Jewish. I am Christian, and I don't know nothing about that. I did look up that in the Torah it does list that homosexuality is a part of sexual perversions. That's what they saying. So that's what I'm basing this off of. But also the fact that Oliver says at the end of the movie that his father would have killed him if he found out about him and Elio. So, yes, it is like a social expectation there and taboo with homosexuality. When Oliver is, like, feeling guilty, he knows he won't be accepted by his family if he is a queer man. And I also think it's not just the religious guilt. It's just the fact that Elio was also so young. Because at the end of the day, this dude is pushing 25 years old. And Elio's not even 18 yet. He's about to apply to college and you about to finish. You in graduate school. The next day, Oliver leaves all day, and Elio spends the day waiting for him to return, and he's under the impression that Oliver was out with the girl he was dancing with. He was just out, just slinging it around, huh? And Oliver finally returns and shuts the door between him and Elio, and Elio just whispers to himself, traitor. The next day, Elio called Marissa for a date, and he has sex with her. And you see the pattern that every time Oliver makes Elio mad, he's like, let me call Maritza. You wrong. You wrong for Maritza because you could tell that she clearly likes him and she's very interested in him. She was willing to give her body to him. So it was very serious for her. And he was playing around and she could tell that he was playing around, like, because he would just wane in and out of her life like this. But that same night, Elio goes home and is writing notes, multiple notes, hoping for Oliver to just speak to him. He's just like, I can't stand the silence. Can we please talk? Can we please meet? And he slips it under his door. And then when he wakes up in the morning, he tells Elio to meet him at midnight. What y'all think gonna happen at midnight? I don't know. Elio's uncles come to visit the next day. And Elio's uncles, they're a gay couple. And Elio displays homophobic ideas, calling his uncles Stunny and Cher, and not wanting to wear the ridiculous shirt they gave him. The shirt was actually fire. Like, if we're being honest, I like the shirt. He's being weird. That same night, Elio and Oliver meet up. And they're about to get it in, okay? And so the door... so Oliver closes the door, and the door... boom, slams shut, and it's so funny. It's the funniest part of this movie. It's very funny. And it's crazy how the same night Elio was making fun of his gay uncles, Elio had sex with Oliver for the first time. The fifth most iconic part of this movie is when Oliver caresses Elio's cheek saying, Call me by your name and I'll call you by mine.
Call me by your name and I'll call you by mine.
The problem is that doesn't come until like an hour in. Like, why we got like 30 minutes left of the movie? What's going on? By this time, it's kind of setting into you as the audience. It's like, oh, they're in love and he has to go in like 2 weeks. I remember when I first watched this movie, I cried during that scene because I was just like, he has to leave. He has to leave. Because you get so caught up in their love, you get so caught up in their feelings that you're like, why do I feel like my man of 2 weeks is being ripped away from me too? When the two wake up, Oliver is like looking at Elio very like worriedly. Is that a word? Worriedly? He's worried. And guilt takes over after they finish swimming because they go out to swim. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. They go out for a swim. And Oliver looks at him, he says, are you gonna hold what happened last night against me? And Elliot was like, no. Like, it's not like we're gonna get in trouble. Later in the day, Oliver finally explains his feelings to Elliot. He said, like, I hate the thought that I may have messed you up. And this is another one of the religious things because before Oliver had came, he was already with Maritza. They were dating. Well, I don't even think they were like, well, they were dating. They were going on dates and stuff like that. And he was on track to be like just a regular student, like regular guy, you know, but he got caught up in this whirlwind romance that it feels like it's all Oliver's fault because he shouldn't have given in, and he's the adult in this situation. He shouldn't have given in. And the infamous Pete scene happens. I feel like a lot of people feel like this scene is just for funsies. This scene is for funsies because it is a funny scene. It's just really embarrassing. But this scene shows Elio is still just a teenage boy. Even though he's involved with this older man, he's getting into these older things, he's just a teenage boy. He's still trying things out and figuring himself out. And this further explores his and Oliver's relationship since he thinks so highly of Oliver and does not want him to see him in such a sophomoric light, see him in such a way where he's just like experimenting, putting his pee in peaches. And he breaks into tears after Oliver was like playing with him. He's like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? You're embarrassing me and stuff like that. I don't want you to go. And he starts crying. And that ends the scene, and then they go up on a ledge. No, are they in a tree? It's dark. We missed so many days. Why don't you give me a sign? This is what Elio's saying. And Oliver's like, I did give you a sign. Remember that day when we were playing volleyball and I touched you just to show that I liked you? And the way you reacted made me feel like I molested you. Those are his exact words. Basically, Oliver's final days are spent with Elio in Rome. The two run through the hills screaming their own names. It's beautiful. This is a scene that I have on my wall. I don't know. It's the train station scene. He leaves and like, he's just gone. Elio calls his mom to come get him and he's just crying on the car ride home. He gets back and Maritza comes into the car. He's like, yo, what's good? Wrong time. And they just agree to be friends because she knows that his heart doesn't belong to her. So she's like, let's be friends. And that's cute. And Mr. Perlman has a conversation with Oliver about him and Oliver's relationship, calling their love good.
My place, most parents would hope the whole thing goes away. Pray their sons land on their feet, but I am not such a parent. We rip out so much of ourselves to be cured of things faster that we go bankrupt by the age of 30 and have less to offer each time we start with someone new. But to make yourself feel nothing so as not to feel anything, what a waste. Our hearts and our bodies are given to us only once. And before you know it, your heart's worn out. And as for your body, there comes a point when no one looks at it.
Tell me you didn't cry. That is a very hopeful message. but you still feel like your heart is being ripped out, because that's how Elio feels in the moment. It's like he just left, like he's just not there anymore. And it's the 80s. It's not like they can FaceTime every day. You could call, he can write letters or something. But at the same time, it's the 80s. You can't have a long distance relationship in the 80s. During winter, the Perlmans return to their Italian home and receive a call from Oliver. Elio picks up and Oliver delivers the news that he's engaged. And it's in a way where Elio's like, he's like, who's getting married? He asked, he's like, who's getting married? He was like, me. I'm getting married in spring. What? Like, you're telling me you didn't gag too? And to confirm what happened during the summer was real, Elio just whispers his name repeatedly into the phone. And Oliver gives this air response. And it's just like, Oliver. That's exactly what he says. And he's like, I remember everything. And it shows that he still loves him, but he knows that he couldn't be with him forever. And he had to do what was right for his situation. But this still doesn't dilute the heartbreak, with the movie ending with Elio crying in front of the fireplace. Now, y'all may hear me like sit up there and gush about it. And it's like, Sydney, why is it boring? It's boring on purpose. It is almost a direct adaptation of the book. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't finish the book because I was renting it from the library and I just had a lot going on this week. It's graduation week. I'm locked in. So I just couldn't finish reading it. So, and the book is mostly comprised of Elio's thoughts and following Elio's point of view and stuff like that. So a lot of it is analyzing other people's behavior, analyzing his own behavior. And you could see that in Timothée Chalamet's face and his acting. Like, when certain things happen and he feels like he made like somebody else uncomfortable and he's beating himself up. Like in the movie, Oliver says, I don't know why you beat yourself up. You're very like brilliant. You're like, I love your mind. And you could tell that really made his day, because it's just like he is always beating himself up, and he's beating himself up out loud, but in his mind it's way worse. Like he's constantly like, I remember there's a scene where Elio was playing the piano and he was playing with him and he was just like being like playful, and he was like, oh, I did too much, like it was too much, like I pushed him too hard, I was playing too hard, I didn't know when to stop. And he was just thinking of that. But like Oliver won't think of that. Oliver did not care. Like, that's just not Oliver. And you can see that in the book, but without those thoughts in the movie, it just feels empty. It just feels like you're just watching somebody think. Like, as Elio opens up to Oliver, the movie opens up. It's like you could see more of their thoughts. You could see more of the characters, because Elio is opening up to Oliver. He's opening up to the audience. Call Me By Your Name reminds the audience that life is mostly boring, but the fleeting moments of excitement are what makes it worth living. Call Me By Your Name instills hope into the audience, especially with Mr. Perlman's monologue. And it's just like, you're gonna feel bad right now. You're gonna feel terrible right now. Just feel it. Just take it. However long it takes for you to get over him. Don't even get over it. Take what you did and put your love and your energy into the next person. Don't give half of what you gave to Oliver to the next person. Give all of it. You know, it gives hope, and it says grow in your sadness, not despite of your sadness. And that's really beautiful. This lesson is wrapped in an agonizing yet beautiful coming of age romance that is Call Me By Your Name. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I got a little deep there. I had to lock in. But thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on Call Me By Your Name. Do you think it's boring? Don't be weird. But make sure you follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd, both Blinded Sydney. Make sure you check out the blog post. It'll be linked in the description. What else? I think that's it. Bye, guys.